I've hidden the planets on their own layer, and now I'm going to start the animation of our capsule, but we have to go through a rigging process. And what that means is we have to make sure that our pieces are named properly, and that's the prop. I called this the prop shell. That was the capsule, and we had grouped our arm previously. So if I were to select this now and hit the up arrow, I should see the word arm here. If you need to group the arm, you would go ahead and shift select both pieces and hit Command G to group, and then name it in the channel box. Now we need to group the whole model. I'll shift select all the pieces and hit Command G to group, centering the pivot. Once everything's grouped and centered, I named it in the channel box, whole ship. I'm going to go to the front view where I'm looking at the ship sideways, and we're going to introduce a thing called a skeleton. That's going to allow us to articulate the arm and also control the movement of the rest of the capsule. I'll do one of two things. I'll either go to modeling, change it to rigging, and you'll see the term skeleton up here, or I could have just simply left that at modeling and held down my space bar in my viewport, and you'll see skeleton appears down here on the left towards the center. I'll click on skeleton and I'll choose create joint. We're going to create the first master joint, which will control everything about this ship after we start the animation process. I'll click outside of it and you'll see why momentarily. I'll now click on where the shoulder bone would be, the elbow, and the wrist. If I was to hit W on the keyboard, it selects the whole thing, and we should see this on screen. Now, if I select the first one we put in, you'll see it controls everything. So that's the master bone. If I wanted to manipulate the other ones, I could select above there, and I could go in and I could move those. But if I wanted to do another one outside of this one, I would select there, and you can see now I can move that one. I'm going to select the main, and I want to position this to make sure it's embedded in those model pieces for our arm. I'll take a moment to go through my different viewports and make sure it's lined up properly. Good idea to use your orthographic views at this point. So that looks pretty good. I'll go back to the side view where I see in this capacity, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to select the geometry by itself. I'll click on the arm, I'll shift select the bone that's going through it, and I'm going to hit P to parent. I'll do the same for the other piece as well. If you need to, you can always use your outliner from Windows in which to select the piece and then parent it. So we select the geometry first, shift select the bone, and then hit P. If I was to go down now and click on that master bone and move it, the arm follows it. So that means when we animate the skeleton using IK kinematics, our geometry is going to follow it. So I'll just line that up. Again, making sure it's lined up in the center here. Looks pretty good. I'll return to this view, and I'll deselect for a moment. Now we're going to go back to skeleton, and about halfway down you're going to see create IK handle. I'll click on the bone, which would be the shoulder, and then I'll go and click on the one that would be the wrist, and you're going to see this green line come across. Now if you were to go ahead and grab one of these vertices now, you'll see that the arm articulates by moving the wrist. So that's how we're going to be able to animate the arm that way we want. Now I'm going to go to my perspective view to make sure it's lined up vertically. You're going to notice that when you click on it, I'm going to deselect it. There's a brown line that's very difficult to see. I've changed my background color so it's easy to see here. If I click on that, it selects it. You should see a white triangle in some capacity. If it's not pointing straight up like that, that means when we articulate the arm, it won't stay in this position. If I would hit T on the keyboard now, I can now change the direction by clicking on the move tool you'll see at the back end where the shoulder is. So we want to make sure that that's straight. And then I'll hit W on the keyboard and I'm going to save it. I'm going to find that we're going to be able to animate that rubber band shape we just put in. The last step to the rigging process would be to parent everything else to that main bone right here. So I'll click on the capsule, I'll hit the up arrow, and I'll shift select that bone, hitting P. If I were to click on the main bone now, and move it around, you can see everything is following it now. Now, to make it easier to actually grab this whole thing, what we'll do is rig it to a NURB circle. And I'll select that bone, shift select the ring, and I'll hit P to parent. So now it's easy. I can select that ring and move everything around. There's one last parenting we have to do before we start the animation process. I'm going to select the IK line, and I'm going to shift select circle, and I'll hit P to parent. We'll find that once we start keyframing this, that it will stay by default in the center of the viewport. So by parenting it, it will follow now. Now we're ready to go ahead and start the animation process.